thanks again for being here. GRA, I'd like to again thank you. We've been hosting this event since 2008. We've done a lot of different things, and this one has a lot of particular meaning for me. Erica and Francis do a fantastic job here, so please give them a hand to keep this place open. My niece Jolene, her husband Michael, and great nephew Dexter are here. They put together a wonderful array of food, which I see is shrinking down. Thank you very much. And again, Coburn's is here for the wine tasting with a great selection of wines. I think we can call this one here the Salon selection because we got it nailed down. Ben and Elise back there, thank you so much. And again, we have the Piers Jazz Band. I hope you've been enjoying them in the direction of Joel Polak. And he's actually here because this is their fourth time here. And the last 3 times he would just drop them off and say, I've got to get back to the football game. It's homecoming. So we have the pleasure of having the director himself here this evening. And then again, Michele Feriancek is back with her wonderful work. Thank you, Michele. Raise your hand. I can't see you. Oh, there she is back there. Please take your time to chat with her and learn about what she's been up to. And I know I'll sound like a broken record, but Black Friday starts tonight, so remember that. And then Tony from First Avenue Frame, who really had to bust his butt to get the show up this time because he had a bit of an accident that kind of knocked him out for about a month, so I had to go check on him every day to make sure, are they done yet, Tony? Are they done? Don't worry, I'll get them done. You know, so there was actually wet paint on one the other day when I brought in that, so I was actually behind myself. So. At any rate, this is a special night as my wife Catherine joins the salon with her story of Egypt, which as she shared was a life-changing experience. Her photos and stories are on my left along with a special painting by one of the students from the Khartoum American School, which was the backdrop for a 10-day, one of the 10 days of our time in Egypt we spent in Alexandria. Catherine will join me on stage for a part of the program to share her experience. Well, Egypt. My interest was sparked when I was young. I was really into the Universal monster movies. You know, you have to start somewhere. And the 1931 movie with a British team of archaeologists who discovered the mummified remains of the ancient Egyptian prince Imhotep. Now I'm going to want you to remember that name because that's the only test we'll have tonight. And it was played by Boris Karloff. Egypt was the scene and it really sparked my need to know. Needed more. I went to the library after school and copied the list of pharaohs and their reigns, all 31 dynasties, then typed it out on construction paper and made a scroll, which is what you see right there. I was like 10, 11 years old when I did that. And I had thought it was lost in a fire at my parents' house back in 1984, and lo and behold, when we were cleaning out there to move to our new location 5 years ago, I found it. So there it is after 60-some years. Well, now to the trip, which had been in the works for many years. What made it work all was that Carrie Jacobson, former superintendent here in Little Falls, took the position of superintendent at the Khartoum American School, which due to the civil war in Sudan was holding classes in Alexandria, Egypt. We knew that overlapping our trip while Carrie was there would be a break that we were waiting for. The bonus for us was being expertly guided by our tour guide, Girgis, and we spent nearly 3 weeks with him throughout our time. We spent 28 days in this place that I wanted to go to all my life, and on March 1st, our plane touched down in Cairo and off we went. Here's a brief glimpse of 4,500 years of history and archaeological treasures. Okay, you ready? Up. Yeah, turn on. I have to sit down.
It's been here a long time.
Yeah. All right. So, excuse me while I sit down. So this one right here, this is the step pyramid, and the necropolis is called Saqqara. And so all of the necropolises in Egypt are on the west side of the Nile as you live on the east side of the Nile. So this is the very first stone structure constructed roughly 4,500 years ago during the 3rd dynasty, and the pharaoh's name was Djoser. And it was confirmed recently that a lot of construction theory that they used to build the pyramids was hydraulics, and so they would pump water up. The Nile was much closer to the valley and all the necropolises in those days. And the genius behind this was the architect named Imhotep, also vizier and prime minister and father of ancient medicine, as Asclepius is the father of modern medicine. Next. Next we have the Bent Pyramid, which was the first pyramid built in the 4th dynasty, which is roughly 2600 BC, 2620 maybe to 2500. And it's a colossal structure, as you can see. It's out in the middle of the desert, and the thing I loved about going out to Dashur was that you were out in the middle of the desert. And probably the 2 trips we made there, maybe 50 or 60 people came there. That was about it. So it really gave you what it was like, the experience of being there 4,500 years ago. And out front, 3 of the paintings that I did on location, 2 were of this pyramid. And you notice it's bent because as they were constructing it, they noticed that inside in the burial chamber there were cracks that started to occur because of the weight and the bedrock. So they changed the angle from roughly 54 degrees to 43 degrees, completed the pyramid, and you can see it has about 70% of its limestone facing still on it. Now all the pyramids had a limestone facing on it, so there are very few that have any because it was quite common to sort of repurpose and steal stones, and so some of the pyramids that were over 100 built are just piles of rubble. This is the Red Pyramid. So this was the second pyramid built at Saqqara by the pharaoh Snefru, because when they saw the flaw in the first, they figured, well, it's time to do another one. So this again is the second pyramid of the 4th dynasty, and he was finally buried there. And again, I love this place out there, and you'll notice that I did do a painting of this scene. It's out front there. And the interesting thing about Dashur, even if I had decided to go there some years ago, early on, it was only until 1996 when they opened that site up. Next. Here we go. So this is the Giza Plateau. This is where, after the pyramids were built in Dashur, the pharaoh Khufu, who is the first pyramid on the right, and then the Khafre, his son, and then grandson Menkaure, those are the 4 big ones that were built in Giza. And this is really kind of the epic time of pyramid building in those years. And you can see a little bit of the limestone casing is still left on the center pyramid itself. And we did go into the burial chamber in the first pyramid of Khufu's, and this is where Catherine really took charge and came over fears of claustrophobia, because you're literally crawling up these chambers to get into it. So it was really quite spectacular. And the other thing is, the Pyramid of Khufu was the tallest structure in the world until the time the Eiffel Tower was built. So for 4,500 years, it was the tallest structure. And the other pyramid next to it appears a little taller because the plateau it was built on was 30 feet higher. Again, just technical details. So here we have the Sphinx. So this was built by the 3rd pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, Khufu, or excuse me, Khafre. And so this was all carved out of a single piece of stone. And for centuries, it would be like when it was first carved then, it eventually covered up with sand. And then, of course, during the time, the 18th dynasty in the 1500 BC, they cleared it off. And then there's a very famous painting of Napoleon when he took his expedition there in the 1790s of Napoleon standing in front of it. And the sand is just below, below the chin line, about maybe 10, 15 feet. So this whole thing was, again, covered, and they excavated it out. Okay, this is the temple of Hatshepsut, who was the 6th pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, roughly 1490 BC. And what I love about this one, I kind of look at this temple, mortuary temple, and this piece almost looks like the architect, ancient Frank Lloyd Wright, when you think about how linear everything is versus when you see other ancient temples there. And it was in the 1960s that a Polish team started to restore this, so they went through the rubble and look to match the stones, because every surface on these stones is all carved or painted. So it's a matter of, you might say, great, we've got a bunch of stones over there, we can just put them together. Well, no, you have to match and put the right stones together. Then here we have the Valley of Kings, and after all the pyramids were looted and things like that, the pharaohs decided we needed to find a place to, bury in secret. And so they chose this valley because you can see the peak up there reminded them of pyramids. So for roughly about 500 years, the kings were buried in this valley, and to date, 64 tombs have been found. Okay, and then right here, this is inside the tomb of King Tut, and it will be the 103rd anniversary on November 1st, the discovery of this tomb by Howard Carter in 1922. And it's a very small tomb because he was only about 9 years old when he died, and so they kind of repurposed a different tomb, and so you can see the paintings were put in quite quickly, and you're quite crunched in there. And his sarcophagus, the gold one that was in there, has now been moved to the new museum called the Gem. So a few years ago, you actually would have, that stone slab would not have been there, and you could look at one of the coffins. So this is the tomb of Seti I, who was Ramesses II's father, and this is the deepest tomb in the valley. It goes about 630 feet down into the mountain, and so it's absolutely amazing when you just look at how they, number one, carved the chambers going down, the corridors, and then the rooms themselves, and then they would finish the walls. They come in and do these magnificent drawings. The linear quality of the work was phenomenal. Then they would carve it, and then come in and paint it, and so everything was just floor-to-ceiling painting. Next. So this is the great temple of Abu Simbel of Ramesses II. It's about 50 kilometers north of the border with Sudan. And these 4 colossi, you can see how large they are. They're all carved right into the side of the mountain. Not this mountain, because this whole temple was moved in the mid-60s, because when they were building the high dam in Aswan, it was going to flood such a tremendous amount of land. So like basically the Lake Nasser is 500 kilometers long, which is roughly about, 300 and some odd miles. And so they moved this back a few hundred feet. They cut it into 850 pieces and put it back together. Now the thing is, you see the chamber you walk in, they carved back into the mountain 200 feet, so they had to take all that with them also and put it back together. So it's pretty phenomenal. And this is the temple of Philae. I chose this one to show you just the basic format of how temples were built back then. And so those would be the pylons, the 2 big structures in the front, and then the hypostyle hall, and then the temple itself in the back. In the back part, only the high priests and the pharaohs were allowed to go in there. This was built roughly about 600 BC, and some of the very last hieroglyphs that were ever written, recorded, that I think would have been in about 437 AD, and then after that, the language was lost until the 1820s, 30s, when Champollion translated, broke the code of the hieroglyphics. This is in Alexandria. This is the citadel, and we're up top in the citadel. This is built on the site of the lighthouse, the famous lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, as was the Pyramid of Khufu. I forgot to mention that. And the lighthouse was actually up until the 1300s, when it finally came down after about 23 earthquakes over the course of history, routed to the ground. This is something that would have meaning to people. So the Holy Family, when they left Palestine for 2.5 years after the killing of the innocents, they spent 2.5 years in Egypt, and so this is one of the places that they stayed. And this well dates back to the time the Holy Family stayed in a little cubbyhole quite near where the well was, and people still go there today to get water out of that well and use it for their personal uses or to take home as holy water. And it's in the Greek Orthodox Church that we're standing in front of, which is up outside of Cairo, and it's called Coptic Cairo, because Egypt is about 25% Christian, Coptic Christian. Now here we go to Alexandria, to the Khartoum School, American School. Here's Dr. Carrie Jacobson, and I'm with the Sudanese school, and I'm doing a painting demonstration, and I'm doing a small still life. So Carrie is talking about our time together, explaining the Lindbergh fresco project and the work and just the art in general. And for me, what was just so fascinating, when we finished the project, I would never have thought that all these years later we'd be sitting in Egypt together, kind of he, the superintendent, and me giving a demonstration and teaching the students. So it was a great, great time. So there's proof that I did do it on location. And there we have the drawing. So that's the end of the slideshow. So at this point, I am now going to call.
I'm just looking around. I see friends I've known for so long. I see Ted putting his hand up like he can't hear me, even though I know he can. I see a lot of new people here at this great event. So good evening. I love this event. I look forward to it each year, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I am the only thing standing between you and the bar opening, so just stick with me here. Whether this is your first time joining us or your 15th year, we appreciate you being here. I'm going to call out a couple special guests tonight. My brother Greg and his wife Jocelyn came from North Carolina to be here. So. While I'm usually in the background at this event, this year Charles invited me to share my perspectives on our trip. Given his enthusiastic support of my creative writing, he felt my photos, stories, and writing belonged. Thank you, Charles, for including me in this Egyptian-themed evening. Egypt, as you have seen, has been a lifelong fascination for him. Sparked as a young boy, and he knows the dynasties, the dates, the pharaohs, and so much more. And in our house, if the TV's on ESPN, it means Egyptian Sphinx Pharaoh Network. And seriously, what 10-year-old boy hand types 10 pages of the dynasties of Egypt? One very serious about it. Since our trip in March, he's poured himself into this show. Of all of the salons, this is the one to see. And one piece stands out, the camel and the pyramid drawing. Take time to view this, to really, really look at it. In this new world where art is AI generated, be assured every single line on that drawing was done by him. As for my part, the photos I chose, which are over here, reflect a life-changing journey, not just a travel log, but the dual nature of our experience. While the landscapes and monuments of Egypt stand out, it is equally the personal encounters. The narratives provide context for the photos, offering glimpses into both the familiar and the unexpected. Additionally, I call out one painting that hangs alone on my left with a bit of background to fill in those gaps. During our trip, Charles and I spent 10 days deeply engaged at the Khartoum American School, which serves students from pre-kindergarten through high school. Originally based in Sudan, the school was relocated to Egypt in 2023 due to the ongoing civil war. Students continue their education amid ongoing uncertainty about when or if they will ever be able to return home. During our time, Charles mentored some of the more advanced art students. I was asked to share writing. Having none on me, off to the internet we went in search of writings by Catherine Stoch. I found one I loved, which was inspired by a summer day a few years back and was published in the Star Tribune. As I read it aloud to one of the art students, Katia Hanna, and her teacher, May Bakri, a silence surrounded me as I realized that everyone was listening. When I got done, May looked at Katia and said, "You have your next painting." So as we joined together on this autumn or summer night, coming off some glorious summer-like days, I will read to you that very poem, which was the inspiration for her painting entitled "The Summer of Nostalgia." As you view this piece for yourself, you'll see the strands of collaboration between a young Greek Sudanese woman and a writer from the woods of Minnesota. It is called A Standing Ovation for Summer. Summer, you've been a great one. I love the best of you, your early morning light, high in the sky noontime radiance, lingering sunsets, and juicy, humid nights. Your deep, rumbling thunder and dousing rains, your breeziness, luscious green, and blingy flower shows. The sounds of kids' voices across the water as they float in canoes, and the shrieks of them hitting a cool lake. The snake snuggled in the warmth of the gravel road, motionless. The fawn curled up on a woodland trail, mom nearby, warning of her presence. Frogs so loud at night we had to shout, and flickering fireflies that stilled our chatter. Darting dragonflies, whizzing hummingbirds, and floating butterflies. Honeybees on their daily rounds, and owls hooting in the darkness. baby birds taking flight, and the flapping of wings in the bird bath. Your still nights when the leaves hang motionless. Thanks for the seasonal finale of the Northern Lights. Way to go. Hello, autumn. It's your turn. Thank you very much. Now, I am going to put up a scrolling slideshow of our photos from Egypt. You're welcome to opt in, opt out. Continue to enjoy the amazing Piers Jazz Band. Say hi to Michele Feriancek, the artist here. Talk to Charles, ask questions. And there's Michele, her family's waving to the back. I love it. Thanks for being here. Enjoy the rest of this wonderful evening.